Okay guys, right now what we'll do is we'll go down to the players themselves, if you will. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through one of them, because if you imagine a mirror in the middle of here, they're both exact same, obviously. Now, if I move... Is that alright? Yeah, good. We'll see the players quite well. Good. So if I look at my player, the first thing that I notice is we've got the on-jog display inside the Platters. So the Platters themselves are of Nexus 2 quality. They are the same as the Nexus 2. A few little tweaks inside, because the Nexus 2 are now 5 years old. This has just come out, so technically they're better, but they're the same size and they're the same ball bearing circuitry inside it. So it's not relying on a signal anymore. Like controllers will rely on sort of your CPU signal from your laptop to make sure it's staying in time. These are just sort of manually hardware built, and they last a hell of a long time. So in the middle, you've got your Q scope. In the middle, you've got your on-jog display. Now we've recently brought this out this year on a few other pieces of hardware, and you are going to see this a lot more in the future with our future products. So at the minute, all I've got is my artwork in the middle. If I go back to my utility, I can actually change this. Display jog mode, I can have it info. Now this is something I always have. I always have info, because it allows me to see where my Q scope, it allows me to see my time, what key I'm working in, I'm in vinyl mode, etc. All the relevant information you need. And you'll be surprised that if you start using this and having this technology, you'll be surprised at how much you actually do look at this on-jog display. I look at it all the time, because if I've loaded 8 hot cues up and that 8th one I think, what the hell was that now? I need something, I need part of the track that's euphoric, I need it to come in without any kick drums in, and I look at something, all I have to do is sort of look at my cue scope and go, ah yeah, well I can see that it's not the full transient on the wave, I can see that there's a big breakdown within that hot cue, right, that's the hot cue I need. I do look at it a hell of a lot. But you can also have it very simple, artwork, but again, I have it on, not simple, I have it on information. And then you've got a jog wheel adjust as well, for those of you that are scratch DJs, or depending on how hard or fast or how tight or how loose you want your jog wheels. At the top you've got all your looping section, and then we've added the classic 4-bar loop, 1 button. Sounds like Blue Monday. And then if we move down, we've then got your pad modes. Now the pad modes are exact same as the RX2. And the reason for this is you are looking at club standard equipment here, yeah? So the use of slicers, remixers, that's for more of your showcase sort of at home bedroom stuff. When you go to sort of the professional level, you'll notice we don't add things like that. And this is very much based within a club sort of setup, club mobile setup, more club than anything. So we didn't want anything on here that was going to bring the value of it a little bit down, if you will. Yeah, so we've added the basic pad modes because we feel that those are the most used with something like this. And the pad modes are hot cue, beat loop, which just automatically gets you into a loop. Yeah, I was doing Blue Monday then, I was trying. Got it in my head now. And then you've got slip loop, which allows you to activate a loop, but in slip mode. So the track will continue playing in the background and you can do some funky cool stuff. Good. I'm not going to do that any further because my whole setup's getting trashed here because of that bass. I could use my freeband EQ on my master, couldn't I? Just take the bass off a bit. And then we've got beat jump, and that allows you to jump forward 2 bars, 4 bars, 8 bars, or back 2, 4, 8, 16 I think as well. So very basic pad modes, but I must admit, I use beat loop, I use hot cue at every mix I do. Slip loop, sometimes if I want this effect, want to start juggling sort of parameters up, I will do so, but it's not exactly vital. I do like beat loop and hot cue, and that's pretty much all I use, to be honest with you. There's no roll on there. The slip loop is pretty much acting as a roll, but you've got roll on here as well within your effects section. Good. So, and then you've got the tempo adjust, and then you've got your reset, your master tempo, and then of course you've got your tempo fader here. So that's pretty much everything. See ya. No, I didn't mean that. That's pretty much everything I wanted to show you within some of the features. Now let's talk about why this is here and what we've got running in the back. So it's quite hard to get the camera on the back, so you're going to have to just bear with me. The outputs at the back are, you've got your basic phono for channel 3 and 4, phono for, RCA for 3 and 4, RCA for your auxiliary, a USB input. The unit is Recordbox and Serato ready, but Serato Pro for this, or the activation for this, is coming in the first week in January. So it's most definitely coming, or else obviously we wouldn't have the Serato branding on. But for now, there's a few glitches we're having with Serato, so we want to make sure before we put this out there. But it is compatible. It's our first one ever that's compatible with both Serato and Recordbox ready. Yeah, and then at the back, you'll notice, for those guys who are a bit close, you'll notice we've got Cat5 links here. So what this is allowing me to do, it's allowing me to link in other decks to the Pro DJ link. Does anybody not know what the Pro DJ link is?
Yeah, I don't.
I was just about to shave off about 10 minutes then, but never mind.
People that are not putting their hands up, they're just not being honest, maybe.
It's alright, mate.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So the Pro DJ link is a technology that we created a couple of years ago, and it allows you to link decks up for various reasons. So you can link decks and pull information from one USB stick over 4 channels, over 4 decks. But it also allows you to use the beat sync mode. Yeah. Now, you'll know, for those of you who've been before, you do know I always talk about the sync mode. I think sync is a great option that you can have within CDJs, players, controllers, whatever, because there's ways of using it. Don't think sync as, oh, he's using sync, he's matching his beats. I've been a DJ 15 years, I can assure you I can beat match. I wouldn't be where I am if I couldn't, do you know what I mean? I spent 7 years on vinyl, I can beat match very well. But what I tend to do is I sync decks up, because what I can then achieve is sort of beyond DJing. We're now going into live production, yeah? And this is why I sync things up, because I get creative with hot cues, I speed things up, slow things down, half-time things. This can't be achieved without the beat sync, which also can't be achieved without Pro DJ Link. So that's why we invented Pro DJ Link. And I've linked my Nexus 2 TDJ up. So if I was to start beat syncing, I'd master one of the decks, that's synced, they're now all synced within BPM range and time and quantization. So that would allow me to then start just cutting through hot cues here, whilst cutting through hot cues here, whilst this track's leading. It can't be achieved without Pro DJ Link and the beat sync. So that's what Pro DJ Link is.
Is that part of Quantize?
Yes, very much part of Quantize as well, yeah.
Excellent.
And it's how you can get your beat effects in Quantize as well. So when this is playing, these beat effects will stay in time via the Cat5 lead at the back, into here, and your Quantize turned off. So then your beats are always constantly staying in time. Your effects, are constantly staying in time. So that's what the Nexus 2 is here for, because for those of you who have CDJs, you've got the ability to use them as well as your players here, so then it does become 4 channels of audio that you are mixing technically. Or again, you can use Recordbox and Serato on 2 channels, USB on the other 2 for a backup. Are we starting to now understand why not having 4 channels of audio isn't actually a bad thing? I swear to God, anybody in here that tells me they're in clubs mixing 4 tracks together at once is lying. I do 4-deck mixes. One of them decks never even gets used. It just looks good, and I'm not even joking. Anybody in clubs, you average clubs and bars that say, well, I need 4 channels of audio, you think, well, you need your ego massaging, then obviously, because you can't mix 4 decks. Sorry. Do you know what I mean? So thank you for being honest with me all as well. It's good to hear it. So then, one last thing that I wanted to speak to you about is, obviously we've got the send and return at the back as well. Now, I use it quite heavily with the DJS-1000 because I do a lot of remixing on the fly, and this is where the Pro DJ link comes into play as well. Because you've got link for channels 3 and 4, and then you've got an extension. So your extension can go out to an outboard piece of kit as well, so the DJS-1000, which is just over there. It's a sequence sampler. The send, and then you can, the returns back, yes mate.
What about our RMX?
RMX, yeah, of course, yeah, that's the exact same. Yeah. It's a very good point. RMX 1000 as well, or RMX 500 can be used within here. You send it and you return it back down a channel, or your master, anything like that. That's the reason why we've added this send. But the send can also be used for live sampling as well. So the DJS 1000 allows you to take up to 64 seconds of a track and then transfer it over to play with, mess with, do whatever you want with it. I do a hell of a lot of that. Like if I've got a hot cue, let's say. So if I was to loop this, and then I wanted to take that sound and I wanted to mess with that, I can live sample that into the DJS 1000 and then send it back down another channel. And then all of a sudden, you're starting to remix on the fly. So this is why I use BeatSync. This is where it becomes interesting. It's no longer mix in, mix out DJing. It's all, for me, this is just personal. I mean, nothing wrong with mixing in and mixing out. I've still got 1210 set up at home. I still like the old school way of doing it. But for how I work and how creative I'd like to be, this allows me then with the BeatSync to do things like capture parts of tracks and just remix it like that, and then the crowd go, what? I've had the crowd sometimes, someone from the crowd say, what version is this? And you're like, well, I've literally just done it now. This is what, this is what you can achieve with this equipment.
Does it save that into the history?
What, the sample? Yes, on the DJS 1000, not in here though. You need the DJS 1000 to achieve this anyway.
Yeah.
So, that, guys, is pretty much everything I wanted to go through and show you. Plenty new features on here. I think it's a massive upgrade from the RX2, and you'll all be pleased to know it's about £300 more than the RX2. It's a very competitive price point for what you're getting. You are getting literally a little sort of the next best thing to a Nexus 2 setup without paying £5 grand. I think it's 18.